Open world games. Love them or hate them, they've been the big buzz in the gaming industry over the last few years, and many of them have been excellent. Some have been stone cold average, and a few of them have been pretty awful. It's a genre that was created way back in 1984 with a game called Elite, where players could engage in open world space trading in a pretty expansive outer world setting. Now let's think about the words open world. It's a catchy phrase, and the words themselves imply a lot of possibilities and lofty expectations. Go anywhere and do anything is sometimes how we coin it. The unfortunate truth of the matter is, no game can get away with that, but it's something that the average gamer often gets stuck on. The main problem with the open world formula is this: open worlds clash with focused storytelling. Creating a massive, sprawling world the size of Louisiana sounds great on paper. Players love big games, right? The problem comes in when games get too big, too set on the idea of expanding the world size just for the sake of it because the gaming community thinks they want bigger games. Big games create dissonance with storytelling, and the bigger they get, the more they fight with us getting invested into the story, the events, or whatever's going on in the game. So let me paint a picture to explain kind of what I just said. In Witcher 3, Geralt is on a quest to find Ciri and uncover the truth behind the Wild Hunt. Sure, it's a complete understatement, but it's most certainly the main impetus for Geralt's existence. Now do me a favor and ask yourself, if you were Geralt, what would you do? You'd go out and find Ciri, right? What would be the absolute last thing you would do knowing that Ciri might need you at this very second, her life being in peril, or that if you don't ride out as fast as you can to find Yennefer, the Wild Hunt might destroy the entire world? How about stop at every town and play cards with the locals? Throw yourself into every inn and brothel you can find and pick a fist fight with the first dirty asshole who looks at you wrong. Attend street plays in Novigrad. Or stop to help anyone, hell anybody who stands in front of you waving a bag of silver coins. You can see where I'm going with this. The entire side quest and minigame portion of the game is in direct conflict with the overarching story objectives. I'll be the first to say that this was the reason I actually could not finish this game, because my sense of disbelief was shattered at the onset of these trifling activities. I guess saving the world and getting Ciri back is not as important as getting liquored up at Rosemary and Thyme. The more worrisome trend in open world games, however, is the need to make them as big as humanly possible. The bigger the game, the more empty space that needs to be filled, the more problems that could be had. If it doesn't get filled with meaningful content relative to the story, urgency can be lost. Skyrim, The Division, Just Cause 3, and more recently No Man's Sky, all games that have been setting this alarming trend to just make things as big as technology allows. It takes ages to get anywhere in these games these days because they're so big.
Call this peanut butter on a cracker.
In return, we are granted fast travel systems and warp systems like signposts or outposts that artificially get us around the map because it's so damn big. Yes, handy when you need them, but sometimes it can feel really weird to be teleporting to a signpost. Think about that for a second. They can make you aware that you're inside the big box of a video game. So Dark Souls got around this by minimizing the breadth at which the game world existed and shrinking its levels with a spider web of shortcuts, locked doors, and traps. These deceptions undercutted the need for huge levels, and we realized during our time with Dark Souls that we did not need them. Then we have games like Far Cry Primal and Assassin's Creed. Oh god. Not only do they make them bigger and bigger every year, but they pad them so full of the most useless and trite shit. The recurring themes are just digital bait, like casting out for a fish at a local lake. We've been biting on that bait for years, but I bet a lot of people are now pretty sick and tired of that same Ubisoft open world game. Even Metal Gear Solid croaked on this formula with the Phantom Pain. I really wanted to like this game, but I mean, boil it down, really, there's just nothing here with this game. It's just a big desert, just the same way the sky is a big blue painting above us. Although it's impressive at first glance, the sheer amount of emptiness in that game begs to be noticed. So how do we fix this issue with open world games? Them being too repetitive, too big, and too threadbare of anything meaningful. Number one, it's about scaling back. It sounds so obvious, but sometimes it's the smallest things in life that we overlook. Shrink the game spaces, the empty space, and more importantly, the content unrelated to the core game story. Cut out the fluff and the nonsense collectible quests that are just there to be there and annoying. Reduce the size of the game world relative to the player and eliminate non-interest bearing side objectives. No, I'm not talking about removing side objectives. Just tie them back to the bigger picture. Number two, introduce time causality events. Instead of spending time making unrelated story content, pour development into fewer areas, but ones that really matter. Imagine a game that would offer you different paths, not based on what you haphazardly select, but based off of if you've gotten certain things done at certain times. Not a time limit in the game counting you down, of course not, but perhaps a loose timeline that offers you different gameplay options based off of how many optional objectives you decide to engage in. The Witcher 3 would have been the perfect platform for this, allowing you to keep pace with Ciri and Yennefer as long as you didn't fiddle around with prostitutes and Gwent for too long. You show up to Novigrad 100 game hours in? Too bad, bucko, she's gone and you'll need to find another way. And lastly, just some honorable mentions. Diversify your gameplay. Stop designing bitchwork quests just because you can. I'm looking at you, Far Cry 4 and your ammo pouch system. And design your gameplay to be innovative and fun. Open world games, it's less about being the jack of all trades and more about specializing in something truly brilliant. Take a page out of The Last of Us Eco or Uncharted books, and give us something that we won't forget. After all, we remember more about the emptiness in your games than what is actually in them sometimes. What do you guys think about open world games? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Let me know in the comments or hit me up on Twitter. I'm always available to chat with you guys. And if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the content. We got more coming on very soon. And thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon.